Welcome to the Flora podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to talk about how to identify the type of clutter that gets in your way the most. If you're new to my channel, I'm Flora Sage, minimalism mentor, simplification coach, and 7-time author. For over 25 years, I've been helping women like you align into a life that you are wildly obsessed with by helping you clear the 9 types of clutter, keeping you from a life that you absolutely love. What are those 9 types of clutter? They are mental, spiritual, emotional, digital, financial, daily, body, process, and environmental clutter. My YouTube page is where I share my environmental decluttering tips. And here on the podcast, I share with you how to declutter all the rest. So please subscribe or follow this feed so you get notified every single time an episode is released. As I mentioned earlier, today we are going to talk about how to identify the type of clutter that gets in your way the most. Every single Monday, I pop into a coaching app that I use with my private clients, and we talk about what happened over the weekend. We unpack anything that needs to be unpacked, and we also gear up for a really good week. We talk about goals, and one of the things we always talk about is what type of clutter might get in the way of my client's ability to achieve the goals that they've set out to achieve. And this is one of the things that I want to talk about with you today, because this is something that I feel is such an underutilized question. What might get in the way of your ability to do the things that you want to do? Because, think about how often you write a to-do list or you write goals. And at the end of the day or the end of the 6 months or the end of the quarter or the end of the year, you didn't get them done. And it's like, dang it, really? How did I? And you're like beating yourself up, or you're thinking, how the hell did I not do this? Like, how did I not do this? Seriously. And typically the reason why people don't get stuff done is because, or they don't accomplish things, is because they didn't anticipate or they didn't think about what might get in the way of their ability to do it. And so anytime you make a goal, or anytime that you say, I want to do this, whether it's just a goal or just a to-do list, ask yourself, okay, so I want to walk 30 minutes a day. All right, cool. Okay, what might get in the way of your ability to do that? Right off the bat, someone might say, oh, if I have my period, because when I have my period, I've got cramps and I just want to lay on the couch and I just can't even, if you're a woman, you've been there, you're like, yeah, I get it. It could be, well, if it's raining or if it's snowing or a blizzard or if it's too hot. I live in Arizona, and sometimes during the summer, it is literally too hot to walk. So when you look at the possible obstacles or the possible things that might get in the way of your ability to achieve the things that you know you want to do, then you can create alternatives. Years ago, I was listening to a book, and in the book, they had a study of hip replacement patients, and they had 3 groups of patients. The first group had the surgery and were sent home with just a piece of paper saying, this is how your recovery should go. It had a list of exercises, tips and tricks, and all that stuff. The second group of people were given the same piece of paper, but the doctor actually read through the paper with them before they went home. And then the third group of people, same thing, they were given the piece of paper, the doctor read the instructions, and then this is the most important part. The doctor asked them, okay, now that you know everything that you need to do to recover at home, what might get in the way or what might prevent you from doing these things? And some people, I think stairs was on the list, and some people said, well, I don't have stairs in my house, so I'm not going to be able to do that. And it was interesting because when the patient shared what was going on and their concerns of what might get in the way or what might prevent them from doing these exercises and these recovery things, then they were able to strategize and make a plan with the doctor. Now, the cool thing is that the people that had that plan recovered 30% faster than the people that just got the piece of paper, and also the people that just got the piece of paper and the instructions read to them. 30% might not seem like a lot, but if you think about it, it's really quite significant. After I heard that study in this book, and I was walking my dog at the time, I went home and I took out a piece of paper and I wrote in huge letters, what might get in the way? And I put a big question mark, and I put that up on my fridge, and I looked at it for just weeks. And I noticed that sometimes it was environmental clutter, where it was the actual physical stuff in my space. And when I allowed myself to recognize, okay, these are my goals for this month. And then I asked myself, what might get in the way of me doing these? And then I even made it even more specific, what type of clutter might get in the way? And with that question being even more specific, what type of clutter might get in the way, that had me really look at those individual parts of my life and identify what part would cause some issues. And sometimes it was emotional clutter. Sometimes it was spiritual clutter, whatever it was. And this is one of the things that always just is such an amazing shift in my clients when I ask them this question is, what clutter might get in the way of your ability to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish? And you can hear that kind of thinking and the gears kind of working and the all the things percolating inside, and they're like, you know what? This might get in the way, or that might get in the way. And then we strategize. We're like, okay, so if this does happen, what else can we do? How can we approach this? How can we navigate around it? What can we do instead of that? And so this is what I encourage you to do today and over the next couple of weeks, is every single time that you make a goal or that you write a to-do list or something that you're like, I plan on doing this. Okay, what might get in the way of you doing that? Or what type of clutter might get in the way? However you want to word it, however you feel it's best worded for you, because everybody learns and comprehends things differently and kind of digests things differently. Ask that question. What might get in the way of me doing this? Or what might prevent you from doing this? And how can you navigate around that? How can you work with that instead of against it? The reason why we do this is to identify those common pieces of clutter that get in your way. Sometimes it's emotional clutter. Sometimes it's mental clutter. Sometimes it's financial clutter. Sometimes it's daily or process clutter. When you can constantly identify, or even frequently identify, what is the common denominator of the bottleneck or the holdup or the reason why you're not accomplishing and getting things done, then you're not just throwing spaghetti at a wall and trying to just figure out like arbitrarily what's getting in your way and what's preventing you from having the life that you want. All of a sudden, with some reflection, you're like, wait a minute, this keeps getting in the way. So let me tackle this. Let me unpack this, whether with a therapist or a coach or a friend or a trusted advisor. And I'm going to unpack this so that the next time it comes up, it's not going to prevent me from doing this. It's going to actually empower me and say, oh, well, I've cleared this. This is good. So it's a non-issue, whatever it might be. And things come up all the time that are unexpected. It's like if you have daily clutter where your day is completely booked and you have no free time, then we look at delegating. We look at, are things necessary? Can you take stuff off your plate? Why are you doing this? And we really unpack them. And the key for all of this is to just recognize that the clutter that gets in your way might not be the same clutter that gets in somebody else's way. Why this is so important, why identifying the type of clutter that gets in your way is so important, is because when you recognize the types of clutter that are present in your life and you clear those types of clutter, what happens is you start to have more free time. You start to have more joy. You start to have less stress, because if things are constantly preventing you from doing the things you want to do, you're going to be stressed out. You're going to be kind of pissed off. You're going to be anxious. There's going to be a whole host of adjectives that you feel because you're not able to do the things that you really want to do. And the beautiful thing is, when you start to identify those common denominators of clutter, you can clear them, and then they're not there. And then when you go to do the things that you want to do, you can actually do them. In my book, The 1 Degree Shift, I talk about how I ran away from my life. I kept moving and getting in relationships, and it was a shitty relationship, and then it was this huge cycle. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And I realized the common denominator is me in all of this. And I'm like, well, of course, because it's my life. So what else is the common denominator? And it was that I was codependent. And I was like, oh, okay. And when I realized I was codependent, I was actually really excited and really happy about it, because then I was like, okay, now I know how to fix my shit. Now I know how to fix my relationships. And it took me 7 months, but I went through the 12 steps of Codependency Anonymous. And I have to say, my relationships have never been better after I did the work. And sometimes the work takes a long time, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's the thing. If you're not frequently identifying the types of clutter that might get in the way or that might prevent you from doing those things that you want to do, it's going to keep happening. And they're going to keep coming in, and they're going to keep preventing you from doing those things that you want to do and achieving those things that you want to do and getting that to-do list done and all the things. Trust me, I've been coaching people for over 25 years. And this is one of the things through and through that I have seen consistently is, until you clear whatever type of clutter is getting in your way, it's going to keep coming in. Whether it's emotional clutter, daily clutter, process clutter, financial clutter, body clutter, environmental clutter, whatever type of clutter. Y'all have heard the list. It will get in the way. And this is why, this is a hill I will die on, people. And this is why I'm so passionate about teaching people about the 9 types of clutter that get in the way, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, whether you're your own boss, whether you work for somebody else, whether you're a mom or not a mom. Whatever your life situation, these are the core types of clutter that consistently will rob you of your time, attention, and happiness. The key is to identify, first of all, what do you want to do? Second of all, what might get in the way of you being able to do this? Or again, you can rephrase it, what type of clutter might get in the way of my ability to do this? I'm sorry, there's a dog barking. I live in a neighborhood. There's dogs, there's people. My window's open. It's a fabulous day. This week, I would encourage you, anytime you make a to-do list, you make goals, whether for New Year's, whether quarterly, every 6 months, whatever your cycle is for your goal setting, make this be one of the top questions you ask yourself. What might get in the way, or what might prevent me from doing this? And be honest with yourself. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm not getting up early and I'm not doing a long walk in the middle of summer. Because in the middle of summer, you have to get your walk in before the sun rises. And sometimes I don't get to bed on time. And when I don't get to bed on time, I don't get enough sleep. And I need sleep. So get honest with yourself. And the more honest with yourself you can be, the faster you'll identify what's getting in your way. Once you identify what's getting in your way, then you know what the problem is. Then you know what's preventing you from having the life that you want. And then all you have to do is say, okay, this is the issue, then work to clear it. If you want my help with this, click the link in the show notes. I have spots for accountability coaching. Click the link in the show notes that says, let's connect. That will bring you to an application. Fill out the application. Let's jump on a call. Let's talk. I have several different tiers of coaching available. I know that if you're listening to this podcast and you're still on at this timestamp, I know that you're ready for some changes. I know that you're ready to finally start achieving the goals that you want to achieve. And I know that you are done with being sidetracked. Let's continue this conversation and support each other in building lives you're not only obsessed with, but that are genuinely filled with so much joy and fulfillment. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I invite you to share your experiences with identifying what types of clutter get in your way the most in the comments below. If you're listening to this on any podcast streaming service, email me, flora@florasage.com, to share your comments. And yes, I read every single email and comment that comes through. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, share with your friends, and please leave a review. Your support helps this podcast reach more people looking to declutter their lives and align into a life they are wildly obsessed with. I hope this serves you today. And remember, all it takes is a clear vision of what you want and the willingness to take one small shift in that direction daily to align into a life that you love. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah! All links mentioned are in today's show notes.